Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist George Lessons. We're going to get to our weather presentation here in a moment. Let me know if you are not hearing any audio at this time in the comments, or give me a thumbs up if you are getting audio. We're going to talk about the upcoming severe weather situation here. Expected overnight tonight when most people are sleeping. We've got meteorologists Michael Behrens and Sam Jacks coming in later on tonight. The real event not happening until after about 2 a.m. So we've got a little while before any severe weather moves on in. I'm not sure if I'm getting audio or not. I've got my web person that's going to come in and tell me if I don't have audio, so I'm assuming that we do. Give me a thumbs up in the comment page if you are hearing me. Chris, thank you so much. So I think we're going to move on and talk a little bit about what we've got coming up. Wanted to let you know that already a severe thunderstorm watch has been issued for portions of Wisconsin out over to central Lake Michigan. This is an interesting severe thunderstorm watch. There are two types of severe thunderstorm watches, just the regular severe thunderstorm watch, and I'm quite surprised that they have not issued what's called a particularly dangerous situation, called a PDS watch. That is not the case here. This is just an ordinary severe thunderstorm watch, but if you look up there in the upper right, look at some of the stats for this. Maximum hail size up to 2 inches, and maximum wind gusts to 90+ miles per hour. It's a pretty rare severe thunderstorm watch kind of situation. They'll be moving from the northwest at about 60 miles an hour, so they'll cover 60 miles in less than an hour, or about a mile a minute. So if you're asleep and you hear the thunderstorm maybe 5 miles away, you have 5 minutes to get up, collect all your thoughts, and get to your place of safe shelter. So you really need to have a way to get severe weather information overnight tonight that might wake you up. Here are the situation with the storms building back to the west. Most of them are inside that watch box, northwest Wisconsin, and they're expected to move fairly rapidly off to the south and east at about 60 miles an hour. Notice there are a couple of showers coming down into northwest lower Michigan. Those are not the main event, so you might get a rumble of thunder or a brief shower with that, but the ones that will contain the real bad weather will be back to our north and west. During the course of the last 24 hours, we were upgraded yesterday from a marginal risk, which was a Category 1, to a slight, and that's when you went to bed last night. Woke up this morning, they had updated us to an enhanced risk at noon, and then at the 4 o'clock update, they upgraded us to a Category 4 out of 5. So their confidence has been building over the last 24 hours that this is going to be a high impact event. 4 out of 5. Starting in Wisconsin, as you can see, crossing Lake Michigan and heading into southwest lower Michigan, which is pretty much all of our viewing area. What you're seeing here is break down the risks by damaging winds, and you can see we're in that pink color, which is the second highest, and the hatching means this is a significant risk all the way from northwest Wisconsin down southwest lower Michigan. So pretty high confidence that if the severe thunderstorms get going, that the main threat will come from damaging winds, and we're talking winds around 80+ miles per hour. As these storms are developing, usually the hail, the biggest hail, occurs right when those storms form. So that's why that bullseye is over northwest Wisconsin. There's the smallest possibility they could translate over Lake Michigan and produce some large hail as it gets in our area, but that is not a very high risk at this point, but there is a risk, and there's also a risk for a tornado coming out of one of those lines of thunderstorms. But if we have 80-mile-an-hour winds and there happens to be a spin-up of a tornado, it'll be hard to tell what happen. What is likely that if all of this plays out, we'll probably get some power outages, numerous power outages most likely. So this is how it all wraps up. A low risk for a tornado, very high risk for wind damage, medium risk for hail, and what's not counted as severe weather is flooding, some minor flooding because of the heavy downpours that are expected to come with this. Might get an inch or two of rain in less than a half an hour. Our forecast confidence is still only moderate because I'm still waiting for those storms to really get going for that to happen. So the scenario is expected between about midnight and 7 a.m. from northwest to southeast. I know National Weather Service has got it a little bit earlier and a little bit later, but their area of responsibility is a lot larger than ours. So this is just in our viewing area for all of our viewers out there. Some of you may want to know what all those severe weather categories and risks mean. Again, we went from marginal to slight yesterday to enhanced today and now to moderate, and that's that red color. It means widespread severe thunderstorms are likely, long-lived, widespread, and intense. If this can get going and continues to push rather rapidly to the southeast, not just through lower Michigan, but down into Ohio and perhaps West Virginia and those things, it could turn into what is called a derecho, but right now that is not the case. It's just an area of thunderstorms that are expected to rapidly blossom and push out to the south and east, kind of like a little bit of a bow echo, looking like a bow of an archery bow. Other than that, we have our severity chart. We kind of see in there in the grayed out areas, there's what I consider 3 types of thunderstorms. There's the typical and strong, but in this case, a severe thunderstorm has all of those check marks there. All thunderstorms have lightning and rain with them. They all have some kind of wind, but in this case it could be 60 plus miles per hour. That's classified as a severe thunderstorm. If there is any hail, it has to be an inch or larger. That's what is characteristic of a severe thunderstorm. And damage, usually with a typical thunderstorm, you get a branch or 2 down. A strong thunderstorm, there's possible damage, maybe a little bit more than that, but likely with the severe weather scenario. And power outages go from 10 plus in a typical thunderstorm. Strong thunderstorms could be 100 plus. In this case, if there's a widespread outbreak of severe weather, it could be up to 1,000 plus power outages. So you need to have a way to get weather information before you go to bed. If you have a NOAA weather radio and it's programmed correctly, awesome. Congratulations. That's really the best way to get severe weather. We call that a smoke detector for weather because a smoke detector is designed to wake you up when you're sleeping, and so that's what the NOAA weather radio does. Your weather apps are good, but make sure you have them enabled for your alerts. You'll want to go into, if you have an iPhone, you go into your settings, your notifications, and you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list where it says government alerts, and you have to turn on the weather ones. You don't have to turn on the amber alerts if you don't want to, but the other ones, if you want to be notified, if you have your do not disturb on, you probably won't get the alerts and won't wake you up. Outdoor sirens are another way to get weather information, but you're not going to hear those indoors. And there may not be a lot of lightning and thunder with these. It may just be winds that pick up and surprise you. And of course, after you get warned and get up, you'll get all your weather information on our local TV. As I mentioned, meteorologist Sam Jacks and Michael Behrens will be in a little bit later on during the early morning hours and watching all of those storms come through later on in the morning. I'm going to check to see if I have one more slide to show you here. Yeah, I wanted to show you the timeline of the storms coming on through. Yeah, I do have one more slide to show you here. This is the scenario as I think it will play out. This is right about now. If you can see, a couple of widely scattered showers are expected. This is now going through, this is the 11 o'clock hour. These are not the storms that we're anticipating later on tonight. This is our, what we call HRRR model. This is our thunderstorm model that does very well handling thunderstorm. No other models work as well as the HRRR. You can see this is 2 o'clock in the morning. Nothing in Grand Rapids, really nothing in Holland, really nothing in Muskegon. Most of the storms are up along US 10, around Ludington and Big Rapids. So between now and 2 a.m., not a lot going on. You can see this storm just starts blossoming, rotates to the south and east, reaches the Grand Rapids and Muskegon and Holland areas. The heaviest is up in Oceana County and in the Newaygo County area. That's at 4 a.m. So this is, what, 6-7 hours from now. And then it blossoms and pushes on through. You can see the heaviest right now moves through Muskegon, Holland, Grand Rapids, South Haven, down to Kalamazoo by 6 o'clock. And then it continues to push southeast. By 8 o'clock, it's already down along the Michigan-Indiana border with some clearing taking place. You'll notice a big change in the air mass as that comes on through. So pretty much the severe weather event will be over by 8 in the morning tomorrow. And then just a little bit of clearing taking place later on in the afternoon. So the main risk will be between about 2 a.m. and about 8 a.m. across much of our West Michigan area. So all the way around, this is going to be an event that happens during the overnight hours while you are sleeping. So you want to make sure that you have at least some way of getting weather information while you sleep. I'm going to take a look at some of the comments that have come in so far. I'm going to start all the way at the bottom. Michelle, thank you for the instructions on settings for alerts. Yeah, I'm not an Android user, so I'm not exactly sure how those settings would work out. But yeah, go down and turn your alerts on if you can. Rick said, I thought the conventional wisdom was that the heating, the loss of heating for the day, would lose some of their punch. That typically does occur, but with the storms developing up in that really rich environment over northwest Wisconsin, these are not going to be supercell storms like there are down in Texas. These are very typical late in the day storms that blossom, and they don't need a lot of heating of the day. They just ride on the upper level, low level jet, and that provides the energy and the shear for them to just take off and propagate. They can be just as bad. It's usually the low-level jet that pushes these along, and that's where you get the winds from that low-level jet several thousand feet above the ground. It's really not downburst kind of wind. It's the low-level jet that's riding the jet stream that pushes these storms fairly quickly. Heidi said, what about Oceana County? Great place. I've been visited there many times. My brother was a doctor up there. Yeah, you're in the same situation as just about everyone else. Hey, Don, we used to go to school together. Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. Yeah. Do they have PDS? They did not issue this one as a particularly dangerous situation. I'm not sure how much greater the threat can be without issuing a PDS. They don't do that very often throughout the year, maybe a couple of dozen times out of the thousands of watches they issue. This is pretty significant for West Michigan. Brandon, I remember Brandon Buckingham, good to see you. Derecho of 98. Every situation obviously is different. I know there's been talk about derechos today, but you really don't know you're going to get a derecho until you've had one. And this has just begun. It's going to take several hours for us to decide whether or not the environment is appropriate for these to propagate all the way down into Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Anything else? Watching from Grand Haven. Hi, Courtney. Good to see you. Ottawa County, pretty much the same. The threat is for after about 2 to 3 a.m. Sherry, good to see you from Ottawa County. How bad do you think it will get in Belding County? Pretty much area-wide. It's really not site-specific. It's not like saying you're going to get 4 inches of snowfall here and 5 here. The wind damage or the potential wind damage could be everywhere or nowhere. It just depends on how all of these play out. You just need to pay attention. Look at your radar app to see how many minutes you have before you need to head to a place of safe shelter. I'm not sure I have anything else to pass along. This obviously is being recorded, and you can view this at any time later on by playing this back. We'll have full coverage coming up tonight at 11 o'clock on our news, so you want to tune into that, see if I have any updates. Probably mostly just a radar update. Storm Prediction Center typically does not update their outlooks until very early tomorrow morning, and we'll be in the midst of the event by that time. So once again, appreciate you hanging out with me here this evening, and we will see you tonight at 11 o'clock, and thanks for joining in, everybody.